comes into making a song, and once you make a song, more work comes into making a record. That's a whole nother process.
Yeah, y'all, respect and love. Miami-Dade County, South Beach, we are here. It's another episode of BackTrak with my man Danja. Don Cannon, the #1 co-signer, something special. Trust me, special. Make sure you like and subscribe now and go to shop tomorrow to get all your gear. You know what it is. It's always on my ear. Holla at me. First of all, I want to say Virginia's in the building. We got 2 cameramen, Virginia, Maryland, Virginia, same thing. My man Abdul, Virginia, the Virginia General. What's up, bro?
What's happening, man?
It's my man Danja in the building, man. Tell the people about yourself, man.
Hey, man, Virginia, born and raised, Virginia to Florida. Been down here for 20 years, but got to rock out with the King, Timbo, for a portion of my career.
Virginia.
Also Virginia. And, you know, I'm here.
I'm just here to say y'all football team sucks, okay? The Commanders fucking suck. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. I ain't trying to hear shit else, man. Okay?
Well,
none of y'all mouths. I don't hear about Jalen, none of that shit.
They can talk to me crazy or talk about me crazy, but I actually slid on the Commanders years ago.
Where you at?
I'm in. Well, this team
Dolphins?
sucked. This team sucked. No, this
Okay.
team sucked too. Carolina.
That's cool.
But I had to get out of it. I had to get out of the command. I had to get out of Washington.
The Redskins.
Yeah.
Man, I'm glad to have you, man. It's
Thank
been
you,
a
man.
long time in the making.
Thank you.
We ran into each other again after meeting each other a long time ago. And we got in the studio, and I was telling you about getting with Jack Harlow, and I was like, man, I got to get you on camera, man. It's too much knowledge that you have, and everybody's a fan, so I wanted to bring you here. We don't say flowers, we say medals. You know what I'm saying? Bring the medals to the stage, you know what I'm saying, and make sure people see your face and
Appreciate that. I
and
mean,
match it to the
story's still being written. It might be over for a lot of other people.
not
but
even.
It
Not
ain't
even.
over for me for sure.
Not even. And we came from the same time period, era, and we still going. You had a lot of success, early 2000s. Tell them about your journey before the music. How'd you get into music? Your love, was it parents involved, family involved?
Man, it's a long story. You know, after being fortunate to have a run that I've had and be successful for as long as I have, it's you know, you don't get the time to reflect as much, and finally getting some time to reflect and think about exactly what you just mentioned, just the journey and where I started from. The story is long and a lot of details, but just my love, the love of it was in me. You know, a lot of people might say it sounds cliche, but it was in me. I feel like as a kid, there was something about the way music affected me when I would hear it. So I would hear different rhythms and chords, or I can remember it, or it was many different genres of things that I would connect to. So my pops played a lot of jazz, a lot of gospel. He's a pastor, so we had to sneak in our R&B and our hip hop.
Man, I'm glad to hear that everybody's coming from the church, bro.
Yeah,
My
man.
last 5 sit-downs was everybody's from the church. Either had a preacher dad, play instruments. Bro.
Yeah. So you know, he's a pastor, raised in the church, and that's why I started to play. So about 12 years old, I got my first opportunity to play the kit in church.
Wow.
I literally was just watching the mechanics of the drummer that was there, like I never played. And I was just like, if I ever get a chance. One day he was sick, and I was like, this is it. Ain't nobody, no musician, no drummer, no nothing, let me go. So I hopped on the set, and that was it. You know, I kind of slid in that position as a church musician on the drums, and got a good run out of that for like 2 years. Drums is my first love. Like if you put keys and drums right here, and I'm trash now, but if you put keys and drums beside each other right now, I'm gonna hop on the drums first. Got a good 2-year run. I just started getting good. I had a musician that was working with me. I was 12.
Wow.
So from 12 to 14. But I started tinkering around on keys first at about 9. So my dad had bought like a keyboard around the crib. And about 9, I was just playing by ear.
Okay.
I never took lessons or anything like that. Just kind of feeling it out, playing by ear. But the drums was like my first. I'm on it every day, and he got me my first drum set.
Dope.
And I was just rocking out for there. Then he got his own church, and I had to switch from drums to keys, and I was just, I was sick. I was sick, man, because I was just getting good on the drums. Like,
So when you say keys, was that piano or was that organ?
it was so we did have a little organ growing up in the crib that we would just play around on, but in the church it was a keyboard. So I was just playing a keyboard, basic Casio or some Yamaha, one of those basic $100 joint.
Yeah.
That's what I would be playing on. And then finally, I think I had 2. So I remember I was just playing the bass on one and playing the keys on another one. And just started to, I remember after a couple of years, I went back to the church, and the young lady who was playing the organ for the church originally, I remember it was a service that I went to, and she just was like, how did you learn all these chords this quick? You know what I mean? But I guess from learning songs, picking up songs, and, also learning R&B songs and things I hear on the radio and stuff like that. I never played anything traditionally. Like, I can't, like,
That's a good thing.
I seen you, yeah.
That's a good thing.
It is.
Can't jazz it out.
Yeah, Camper play me under the table, but shout out to Camper. But I always played it my own way. I played things my own way, and just found my way by mixing in. I would just mix a different combination of course, some that was just rubbing against the melody a certain way, and some that was traditional. So I was just putting a blend of classical, traditional, and the way that I would hear stuff in the mix, and it sounded very different, very, very different. And it just kind of continued up until that point, until my dad gave me the option of if I wanted to continue to play or not. And at that point, I was already, music has kind of entered into my life as far as.
Why do you think he did that? I
think he just respected me as a young adult, about 18, 19 years old, and just asked me, is it, do I want to, when he asked me, did you want to come? Right. And I guess, I was young, a kid. We was in church every Sunday. As a musician, you in church Sunday night, Sunday school, Bible study, Friday night service, choir rehearsal Saturday. So, that 4 or 5 nights a week kind of get, a little old. And when I got the opportunity to not go, I took it. But, I was also, now in the studios, now like in the music community around the neighborhood, and like figuring this thing out called production, which I had no idea what it was.
Right.
But I'm starting to now get creative. There's always something about me trying to create, though. I remember this being young, like 8, 9 years old. I remember looking at the keyboard my dad got and kind of looking at it like, can I record? It was a record button on it, but it was, I couldn't play back in.
8 seconds.
Yeah. I couldn't
That's
do
it.
anything. So I always had that in me. And finally, I remember 16, one summer, I was walking by Radio Shack, and it had a Casio that had six tracks.
Everybody had that joint, bro. I knew he was gonna say that. He got the Casio from Radio Shack.
Casio from Radio Shack, 6 tracks. I was good. Like, that was all I needed. So I got a job at Burger King, and I bought it myself. You know what I mean? Like, that was my first investment. I had made a post some years ago, like, my first investment in the music business was me buying that thing.
That's crazy.
And it was $300. $2.99 got me where I am. You know what I mean? So 2-3-part story that I wanted to tell about investing in yourself. I mean, we sitting in my studio. This was another, part of that story of you got to continue to invest in yourself. So 16 years old, got my hands on that Casio, man, and it was over from there. I was figuring out how to manipulate the sounds to record loops and record things, making little R&B beats. Of course, I was heavily influenced by Tim at the time, along with Rodney Jerkins and Teddy and a lot of different stuff around that time, and just trying to remake the tracks. We got to go through
training wheels. That's what
the training wheels. Remake it. You gotta kind of bite everybody's style until you come up with one of your own. So I was just doing everybody's style, And then later on, man, I got my hands on met some people through the neighborhood, about 18, 19 at this point, and got my hands on the Trinity.
Bro, the Trinity. Trinity's not talked about enough. Everybody
Nah.
skips and goes to the Triton.
Nah,
But don't know that's the son of the
they don't.
Trinity.
Yes,
You know what I'm
yes.
saying?
The Trinity.
What year was that, 97?
That was 98, 99.
Okay. So 99, the Triton came out.
Yes.
So it probably was a little bit before
A little bit before.
Yeah.
So it was 98, because I was in like the 11th or 12th grade, I think, when I started messing with that. I graduated 99.
Okay.
So the Trinity, but you know, the Trinity, all them Swiss beats,
Yep.
all of them Rodney Jerkins, Destiny Child's joints,
Yep.
Tony Braxton and Whitney Houston.
Yep.
What Rodney was doing was that.
Yep.
But that was the sound
Yep.
of the radio at
Yep.
the time. So instantly, you know, I mean, the sound sounded so good, I just started creating things that felt like it's, you know.
Somebody gave it to you or you bought it?
Nah, it was through, I had signed like a management with a local dude who had, shout out to King T. He had a label he started.
Okay.
So this is my first, well, not even my first, because before that, and I'm kind of skipping all over the place, but before that, or at the same time, I had met Leon Silvers, who lived in Virginia for a little bit. Yeah, so he was kind of the first big people that I met and kind of was able to get around and kind of see what he was doing.
Right.
He also had a label and publishing company.
Yep.
And from dudes I was working with, an R&B group called Natural Blend, that we was just cooking together. So it was just us cooking. Then I had my homies who rap. So I was just like heavy in the community of just creatives. Like I was just always cutting songs, writing songs. Like right now, me arranging and flipping around a song is like child's play. I've been doing it since I was 18 years old.
Right.
So through Leon Silvers, just me being out and about, that's how I met Teddy. But I'm gonna rewind and go back to how I got to the Trinity, was through Eaton Entertainment at the time was the name of the label I had signed to, and was producing for everybody he had signed. And he had a Trinity, you know what I mean? He had Cakewalk.
You had to. You had to do the deal. You had to do the deal. Had to do that.
I had to. So he had everything. Like it was like, yo, this is the professional, you know what I mean? This is the professional level. So that's kind of where I started kind of really, you know, developing and just producing, and, you know, my versatility started to come into play, and the development of my own style and my own sound and all these things came into play. So, you know, it really started from the house, man. Like my dad used to play music loud on Saturdays, you know, jazz, yeah, Najee, right, yeah.
Get the broom. We gonna
listen to
they gonna
Najee,
play.
BB and CC Winans.
Take
You
six.
know what I mean? Take six.
I tell you, same household, man.
Yeah, take
Same
six.
household.
All of that. So Kirk Franklin, a lot of jazz, George Duke, Kenny G.
Kenny G.
And then he just had a whole lot of random stuff that I was always listening to. So along with the hip hop I was listening to and the R&B, and I was listening to just a lot of music and playing. So it was just, I was just consuming it, just taking it in, just music like crazy up until I got my real first opportunity, which is not even before Tim. I did get the opportunity to create on a Blackstreet album.
Now, before we get into that opportunity,
Yeah.
I want to jump back into something that I asked a couple people that came. I even asked Camper, I asked a couple people. We all grew up in the church. I didn't play instruments in the church. I didn't have any pastors in my family. But I did ask a couple people that came up in the church, 1500 and Nothing, Camper, all these guys. Did you have a tough time being that you came from the church, or what they so-called call secular music? Did you get backlash from your family? Like, you can't do that music. You can't play that in the house. Like, you know.
Right.
Some people was lenient. I talked to Maine from the Runners. He was like, yo, his mom was a pastor and a preacher. And she was like, do your thing.
Yeah.
You know.
They wasn't, I'm sure they had their feelings about it, but my parents were very, they were supportive in their way. I mean, I think I developed a good amount of trust as well. As a kid, I wasn't reckless and wild. I really was just doing what I say I was doing.
Right.
It wasn't more so that I was doing secular music more so than it was chasing the dream of doing music versus going to school or getting a job that really gonna do what you're supposed to do. I think that was more the struggle than me transitioning out of the church into secular music.
Gotcha.
So, not until that first 5-digit check come, and then it's all good.
Yo, why does everybody say that, bro? I was telling the story too.
Is.
I did a record. My mom was on me about going to school. I came home, I flew home to Philly. I was like, yo, come in your room real quick. She had a small apartment. And I pulled out a check and I showed her. And she was like, what the fuck is that? Where the fuck that come from? I was like, the music shit you was talking about? It's my first check.
Right.
She was like, oh, I guess you're doing the right thing then. You can do what you got to do. And march on. She was super supportive. Yep. But it was always, you got the pressures from the hood, like where your parents like, yo, go to college, do something with yourself, do these things. I was against all odds. I had counselors at my school telling me, yo, you about to graduate, you're gonna end up dead or in jail. What you gonna do? You should go to the Army. And I was like, yo, the Army? Hell no. But that was something they told all the kids. Any kid, all the kids that were privileged, they got a chance to get the right, so you can go to community college, you can do. Our shit was, yo, you're gonna be dead by the summertime. You're gonna be in jail. You know what I'm saying? So I know how rough it is coming up and parents not really being behind the dream of the kids sometimes when they moving forward. Luckily, my mom worked 2 jobs. When I asked her, I said, yo, all I need is a DJ set. I'm telling you, I'm gonna go crazy. But I did all the things that a normal kid didn't do. I didn't play with toys. I went outside and shoveled snow. Came and she told me stories. I used to come in the house and throw the money on the floor, run back out, wash some more cars and shovel, bring the money back in. And that was my hustle. So I think she saw that early. But I always run into these people and they be like, yo, my family kicked me out the house because I was doing this type of music or I was following that type of thing. And they wasn't in the streets. They was just, they was like, you can't listen to Snoop. Yeah. You can't listen.
I had that. Like, pops bust through the door. I'm listening. I remember one time in particular, me and my brother was listening to, I'll never forget the record because it was the Bust Around, the doom, 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 a Snoop record at the time. And he's like, listening to whoop, 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 just going crazy. Me and my brother just, chuckled it off or whatever the case may be. But they had their feeling about it. They trusted me enough. I too was one of the kids that just was I always had a job.
Yep.
I was working. I think I developed a sense of trust from an independence from an early age that they didn't heckle me. So I don't have any trauma that I've carried from if they disagreed. It wasn't that heavy to where, man, my parents, nobody believed in me. I don't got that story. What I mean? So, like I said, I know because we have had conversations about how I'm feeling, how they felt about it, but I felt it was more so about me being able to take care of myself and provide versus me making secular music. That's what I get from it. So I feel like the transition was, I was so locked into what I was trying to accomplish. I ain't see nothing else anyway.
I was the same way, bro. Same way.
Whether that was the case or not, man, I could be missing parts of the story, but I was on it. I just wanted to get there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, early 94, 95, maybe 93, 96 in Virginia Beach, there was a rap group, and it was Pharrell was in the rap group. Ted was DJing. I just recently came back across the demo tape and I was just listening to it. Was that something that was big when you were in high school for that area? Or who did y'all listen to most?
And so Pharrell, Tim, and all those guys are like almost 10 years older than me, if not 10 years older than me. Yeah. So their movement, I think, was it the SBI?
Yeah,
SBI. Yeah, that whole thing. I didn't find out till later through the friend of his that introduced me to him about the whole SBI thing at all. So I didn't know anything about that. But in high school for me, so I would say, we were just talking about it the other night, that summer 94, 95, Fugees, Wu, Biggie, all of that stuff was what was, so I'm going into that, Regulators coming out of, junior high, going into high school. So that summer was like,
94, 96 is the best musical years in my opinion. You can argue with me in the comments. You know what I'm saying? But those eras for
Nah,
me was like
100%.
birthed more legacy artists than most years. And I'm not talking about 60s and 70s. I'm not talking about 80s. Of course, we got Mike. I'm just saying for us growing up, our legacy acts came from 94 to 96. Of course, we had some 97s. Let's give it to Mace and all these guys. But that core, the one we argue about the most, Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas, was that space. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For the old heads.
Yeah.
But they got a different.
Yeah, it's different for
You know
them.
what I'm saying?
But you had to be there to see the veil come over.
You hear me?
Like it was something in the air that you just felt. And if you wasn't there to witness what was going on in hip hop and music period, for what hip hop was doing in music,
Right.
period, you just missed something. You just won't understand what
We'll never understand.
Yeah, you just won't understand what that means today and how important it is today. So for me, yeah, it was that. And then obviously Wu, and witnessed all the battle rapping, Ja Rule, Murder Inc. So we seen all that. I remember when Ha, I remember that first
That fucked my
touched
whole life
the
up.
city.
That fucked my whole life up.
Like
when I heard it.
98, I remember when that came through. And then the rest of them, and Juvenile and Wayne, and like y'all know Wayne now. Y'all don't know Wayne when little Wayne, like 14-year-old Wayne, and to see what he means to the game and what he became, it's like from then,
Yep.
I mean, it really makes a strong argument for his greatest of all time, just from what the time he came in
Yep.
and his longevity. So, and then what launched off of him with the Drakes and everything else. But that whole from 94 to, I mean, even before then, man, I remember Snoop. I'll never forget him sitting on the handlebars of that bike.
Man, what?
I'll never forget that. I'll never forget how that sounded.
Different film. I'm getting chills thinking about it.
Yo,
That's when I first, man, I couldn't grow no hair. And I was like, man, I want them plaits that motherfucker got. You know what I'm saying?
never forget.
I want the plaits. I seen him. He was just the coolest person I ever saw. So
I
I'm
never
like,
forget.
oh, word.
I
That's
never
what's
forget
going
that. I
on.
never forget Dre Day and all of that stuff before, like, so we can go back to 92 if we want to, 93.
Yeah.
And just carry that up to 2000. Let's just say 2000. That whole 6 to 8 years was insanity for hip hop. So I'm heavily influenced by all of that, witnessing all of that and consuming all of that, being able to work with some of those people. Like, I never thought in a million years I'm jumping on the bed, looking at Snoop, and then I'll actually be able to get in a room with Dr. Dre or in a room with Snoop at a certain point, and do a record, whether it was a hit or a classic or not. It was like I got that on my resume. You know what I mean? But a lot of people, a lot of different things that I just didn't witness, even that what was going on in pop culture too, with the Britney Spears and the Justin Timberlakes and all these guys. I just never thought that I would do that. But yeah, 95, 96, when my biggest influence was Tim,
Yep.
him being from the crib.
Yep.
Pharrell came later, because Pharrell was like, I ain't understand him at first.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and then it just smacked me in the face one day. It was just like, oh my God, what they doing is something else. Like, and it's touching the world in a whole other way. But like 16 years old, I remember I had Super Duper Fly, and that was it. That's when I made my mind up, right?
Yeah.
Like,
That's a good
when-
album to make your mind up.
Yeah, that was when I was like, this is what I'm doing.
When you're driving through Virginia, you're passing by Teddy Riley's spot. How many times you just passed by that joint and didn't know what it was? And
Oh
then
my
when you
God.
finally got a chance to be like, yo, I'm at this joint.
I didn't know it was there for years. I didn't know. I knew he was out there working and doing everything, but I didn't know exactly where it was. And like you said, I was riding by Virginia Beach Boulevard all the time, passing by it. And then you finally like, oh, that's where it is. And then, yeah, like to actually get an opportunity to get behind that gate was just a whole nother experience.
How'd you get behind the gate?
So going back to working with Leon Silvers, and we were figuring out a publishing situation, and I met the group. I met Mike Waller and Natural Blend and Joe and Austin. And we were making a lot of records together. And they had publishing deals with Leon. And my first trip to LA, I was like 19 years old. It was literally, it was in August because Aaliyah died in like August, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I landed, and that's when I got the news or heard that she had died or whatever. So that was my first time in LA. That was the first time I ever met Swiss. I met the group As Yet, if you remember that. You remember that group? I met the whole Jackson 5 except Mike. You know what I mean? This is me being with Leon and him just, we just moving around.
Yeah.
And my first time really flying that far to Los Angeles. And, I was just, my first time seeing that sunset, like you think is TV, but it's not, you know what I mean? And working with the group, they were signed to Teddy as a group. He was working on the album. We were doing the album. He would go executive produce it. So that's when I got the opportunity through him, through the group, to kind of be around. And I didn't get the opportunity to be up under him, and I tell people now, if I could do it again, I probably would have asked Teddy a lot more questions. I would have been more on him. Because I didn't understand the gravity of what was going on. So that was the first time getting in and seeing somebody. It wasn't a whole lot of days, you know what I mean? It was a handful of days that I just was being able to be in there and just to see him operate the whole room by himself. No, he engineering it, he mixing it, sliding up and down, he producing it. And I'm like, I think that's it. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be, I wouldn't have built this place if I never seen that.
Right.
A lot of inspiration and motivation from that. And we got to do a record. I got the opportunity to do records for the group. That's how I got one of my first checks. And I did a record for him. He took a record we did called YY on the Blackstreet 3 album. Wow. So that was my first placement. That was the first I could open the credits and see my name.
Right.
In 2002 or something like that, 2001 or 2003. We did it in 2002. And so that's where I kind of logged. This was the beginning of my career, you know what I mean, when I was able to open real printed credits and see my name.
So you were still under Leon at the time when it happened? Or
I think we had segued, our business kind of went separate. We went separate ways. And that also was around the time that I first met Tim.
Okay.
That was around the time about 2001, 02 was like the first time I met him. I was like 19, 20 years old. So I was like right out of high school, like getting after it, meeting people. These people just so happened to be in my backyard. Yeah. And just going after it, along with a couple of my homies I grew up with from school who was really also helping me move around and get some opportunities. So I just was kind of like, had some good people around me who believed in what I was doing. And I think that was very rare because I really felt that the wind in my sails from my people just kind of like, we got to get you there. Like, This is, your talent is not normal talent, And I mean, when I listen back some of that stuff, I'm like, I mean, it was hard. It wasn't that hard, but you know what I mean? So I had some good people who was pushing for me and helping me see a lot of opportunity. I mean, that story goes on and on of the different people that I've met from that time that I was working. I didn't work with Tim yet, but I remember the first time we met, and the first time we met was at a symposium. And he just was, grumpy Tim and like, you dope. I don't know, you know what I mean? Yeah, it was just like, I was happy though. I was like, this is the guy. Yeah. So that was enough that he just gave me that much credit. And then I got a call to go kick it with him at an apartment for like 2 hours. He was just talking to me about all the stuff he wanted me to work on. And, you know what I mean? I guess he was just out of the element of his priority, and now he could be a little bit loose. I don't know if, Tim, you ever remember this, but I remember him sitting in there, and he was just like, yo, if you ain't with me, I'm going to consider you against me. Oh, shit. Right. So I'm like 19, 20 years old. Like, did I just get a threat from the biggest in the game. So if that ain't put a battery in my back,
Right.
you know what I mean, to go crazy at that point. But, you know, fast forward a couple years later, '03, I met him again on the tour bus, got another opportunity to play him some more music. And things didn't happen at that time. I played him some more music, and he was just, he didn't even listen to the tracks. He was just like, this is crazy. Like 2 seconds would play, he was like crazy, crazy, like literally.
He knew it.
Yeah, he just knew it as soon as it came on. And I got the call from him to come out here, '03, like December.
He said, move.
He just flew me out. He's like, yo, I'm working on this. We working on a bus. This the first time he played me Headsprung.
Yeah.
Like, so around that time. So I'm on his tour bus, and he banging Headsprung, and I'm just like, I don't know how I'm gonna compete with this. This just sound insane. That was it. He just started, you know, he's very sharing and like, yo, this is that. I got these sounds and do. He just kind of continued from where we were a couple years prior with that conversation. Dap had a little verbal agreement, and we just worked from that moment.
I got a fun fact. That same time you talking about the tour buses, I was there as well because he did a Sprite Liquid Mix tour. I think it was called the Liquid Mix tour. I was DJing for Miss Jade. I came up in Philly with all the rappers. She was one of the rappers. Her, Enes, Boo, and Mr. Man from Philly Most Wanted. I DJ for all of them.
Wow.
So when she went on tour, she was like, "Yo, can you go on tour with me?" You know, it's Bubba Sparks. Her,
Yeah.
Pharrell was on the joint. So we did a little tour on the bus, and he was making all that shit. I remember Headsprung at the time.
Yeah.
Tweet was out there.
Yep.
So I got a little piece of that. It's funny because we had did like Florida A&M in the stadium, and Tim don't remember this, but he was performing, and I was DJing for him because he had a DJ, and one of my records skipped, right? So he told the whole crowd, I think it was like 10,000 people, he like, tell everybody, kill the fucking DJ. I was like, oh shit. This motherfucker killing me, the record skip. He was looking back, he like, who the fuck is back there DJing at that time? I was young, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's a fun fact. When you talk about the tour bus, I remember exactly what you're talking about. That he used to have that joint rocking.
Yes.
He used to call me Jay, like, yo, come over here, listen to this. Go, put something on this. You know what I mean? She'd be like, yo, I got another one. She had a little CD. She'll play me like, Tim just gave me these joints. You know what I mean? So I do remember those days.
Yeah.
The start of that relationship, what was the first record y'all did?
First one that came out that was successful.
Yeah, well, the first one, like, your first, like, okay, we got something.
Oh, well, okay. Now I'm in the mix, right? So now I'm just playing on stuff. I'm just kind of contributing. And some of those records were, you can hear bits and pieces on the Aphrodisiac album that Brandy did.
Fire.
Elephant Man record and just little things here and there. But the first one that was successful, that charted, was I'm So Fly with Lloyd Banks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had all the music.
Shit.
And he said, yo, take the drums off and just sample that. So all the musical stuff, he just added them crazy, nasty ASR drums, and we was out of there.
Damn.
And it was gone, yep.
I'm So Fly. That was that joint.
Yep. That was the
I
first
guess
one.
he knew it was like, oh, we got something now.
Yeah, I mean, and then we just started, you know, now we locked in the lab. We working on some Danity Kane stuff and little things here and there, right? But it was a moment where it was just, we was just in the lab. Wasn't no artists coming through like that, nothing. So now we just Goku and Vegeta figuring it out and just making this thing, making this sound. I'm planning on adding a lot of the musicality.
Yep.
And he's, you know, the rhythm and the drums, and he's doing a lot of stuff with a lot of live drums and big bits and pieces.
It's called The Junkyard, right?
The Junkyard, yeah. So a lot of that stuff.
What was in the Junkyard?
Man, everything was in the Junkyard. It was like,
It's a trash
it wasn't even a
cans.
whole drum. It wasn't even a whole put together drum set. It was a deconstructed drum set.
Right.
A kick over here, shakers, a rake. You know what I mean? All type of perks, congos, mics.
Percussions, not perks. Remember we had that?
Right.
For you young motherfuckers out there
Right.
talking about perks, percussions.
Percussion.
Yeah.
So mics all over the place. It was probably like, I don't know how many mics. We just had mics all over the place. So he was so we was capturing the room. So that's why things sounded the way it sounded. So he walking around, he making a pattern and looping and just screaming. At the same time he's doing that, Marcella and Demo capturing. I'm in here plugged in, so he in there, I'm in here with my synths or laptop or whatever, going through sound and just playing chords and stuff. Right when so we just capturing loops at the same time, looping it all out, stemming it all out. He get another loop. By the time he get another loop, I got another sound. I'm either adding bass or adding pads or adding keys or whatever. That's how it would come together. It was just like everybody throwing in the pot until it became what it became. And then one of the first people that walked in that room was Nelly Furtado when we kind of started this.
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
Yeah.
So 2 questions. So one, there was a tall tale of how you guys used to be in the studio and used to let the Pro Tools run all day and just come up with sounds and then tell the engineer to loop up different parts from different joints.
That's a very tall tale.
Okay.
I mean, the actual truth of what was going on was it wasn't running all day, but they would be sitting there and it's running like it's multiple tracks going at the same time. You know, it's I got a couple keyboards going, he got a bunch of stuff going on in there, and it's running. And yes, like he was moving so fast, we were moving so fast. It'll maybe be a minute of a performance, and it just take the best loop and then loop it. You know what I mean, from out of that performance, and then it would just kind of stacked running. So it might take a few hours for sure. It'll definitely be a few hours of running tape, kind of like nonstop. I know, just to skip ahead for 2 seconds, in the Justin sessions, a lot, like 5 of those records was created in kind of like a jam session.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And of 2 hours or some change of us just, he find a sound, I'm finding a sound, and we just spitting stuff in.
Right.
So to a degree, there's some truth to it, but you know, it wasn't like endless. You know what I mean? It would go on until then we would pick the vibes, and then we'll go back and like, okay, let's work on this one and let's perfect it. You know what I mean?
Got you. Time in the studio. How much time was y'all spending in the studio? I know when I was in my prime, I always tell the story about it'd be 36 hours. Sometimes I didn't sleep. I used to pray to go to sleep. I used to be like, bro, if I ever get a chance, if you could let me just go to sleep. Because I would stay up. I'd stay up 3-4 days sometimes. No drugs, nothing. I'd just be up, just wired, to the point where I would crash out, sleep for 2 days. You know what I'm saying?
We definitely had those 24-hour sessions. I hated those sessions, but you know, I remember one time driving home, it was about 25, 26-hour day, and I remember dozing off in the lane, and you know what I mean, that swerve. So I was like, we can't do those. But yeah, definitely long days, a lot of long days, every day.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Not all the time, and then you learn this getting older. All the time you spend in the studio ain't creative. You know, you ain't creative.
A lot of it's fluff.
Yeah, exactly. You just in there.
Just the energy.
Right, it's the energy. So, but when we catch that zone, a lot of times, you know, it's a couple different times where the spirit will move in the place.
Yep.
A lot of those times it'd be 2, 3 in the morning, and that's when it's like you half alive.
Yep.
And you know, half sleep, no drugs. I mean, I know I was drinking Grey Goose or something at the time. I wasn't smoking, but you have in there, and you just kind of like, and it comes, but it re-energizes you. You know, I mean, once you got something that's like that's happening,
like
once
you
it's happening,
up.
yes,
Put
like,
that body on a charger.
right, right, you right back, and you go until 7, 8 o'clock. I remember a lot of mornings, sun coming up, 7, 8 o'clock, 8, 9 o'clock, sometimes coming out the studio. So, a lot of hours.
Yeah, another tall tale we're gonna dispute. Y'all delivering albums to people, like having just all this shit ready and then calling somebody and say, yo, we got your whole album right here done, and delivering it. Because from what I saw, I heard these joints and I was like, well, what I saw in my own eyes was they crafted 12 songs together, but I heard that you guys also just flew somewhere to people and was like delivering albums to them. Like, yo, Justin, here goes your whole album.
Nah, that ain't how that happened. I mean, we'll have times where, for Nelly, for instance, we knew she was coming, and he said, yo, Nelly coming, we gonna work. So we started cooking up You know what I mean? Like
Right.
any session you
Yeah.
prepare.
Right.
So it's a handful of stuff that we had ready to go. At least the track. Promiscuous was kind of ready to go. At least it had at least a hook, and the track was done.
Yeah.
And that was one of the ones that she cut last.
Yep.
Like we probably played it to her first,
Right.
and we go through the whole 2-3 months process of making the project, and then that's one of the last ones she cut because we need a single, which is one of the first ones we played. So
Right.
you know, it's one of those things that happen. But no, we never had like. I mean, when we worked on Madonna, we made it on the spot.
Right.
Like we went out there to
The hard
London.
candy.
Hard Candy, yeah. We
that
went
where
out
was
there.
that,
We were
London?
cooking. London, yeah.
Okay.
JT, he was there. We didn't have nothing for him. Like, and I love and I trust this process. An artist or something has to be the catalyst of the creativity, right?
1000%.
He used himself and him making an album because he was an artist. That was the advantage.
Yeah.
To always be in an album mode. So a lot of ideas and experimental stuff we was doing, it'll be for him first.
Yep.
So now you have
Smart.
8, 9, 10, 11 songs that is for him, but here you go. You know, he might got 2 or 3 of them that can go slide over here. So it wasn't that we had whole album. We never had a whole album. Like Nelly, Maneater. I was in Atlanta working with Carrie Hilson, and I forgot what we was working on. Probably some stuff for her album. Then I flew back. We had already cooked up some stuff for Nelly. I went to do that and come back, and the first thing I come back in and do was Maneater.
Wow.
So I put on the headphones. I'm in the headphones while they already had Glow, and I just cooked that up in the headphones. Hit play on that. Everybody in literally catch the speakers on fire. We in there going crazy. But that happened on the spot. It wasn't like, you know, and say it right. Another one that was kind of we did it together. So a lot of that stuff, the stuff for his album, Shop Value, which came right behind all the other stuff, a lot of that was done first. It was like kind of prefabricated, and that was kind of the blueprint that we peeled off of for all these other things, and then his came last. But we never had like a whole ready. You know, everything we did was cooked up.
So we got rid of that one.
Yeah.
Get that out of here. Real quick before we jump into the record, in a collaborative space, what are the toughest challenges? Like, did not click on some days? Did y'all have beat blocks on certain days? What are the challenges of being a collaborator in that space, especially with somebody that's already had 10 plus, 12 plus years going wild? What were some of them hurdles you had to deal with as a collaborator?
I know going into it, one of the things I didn't want to be is to emulate him stylistically.
Gotcha.
I ain't want to, you know, like I was playing some of them Indian loops and stuff like that. I was doing it for the practice of copying and chopping the loops, but that wasn't the things that I was trying to get him to be excited about, because that's what he do.
Right.
So I was really trying to stay true to or find my identity. That was the main thing for me. Is I'm in here with him, I got to figure out what it is that I do. So I think me consistently fighting for my own sound, my own style, and bringing musicality to it is what it made what it made. That's what it became. I naturally kind of fell into a position. Now, not to say that he would do drums on something, I would do drums on something. He would come up with the top or the chords, I would come up, you know what I mean? It just, whatever was needed, we just knew how to fall in place and deliver what was necessary. But I can't remember, even to this day, like, we don't have I think we both just have an understanding of each other's skill set, and we just kind of fall into to place with whatever it is we want to do. Like he'll send me something like, yo, add some chords to this. I'll send him something like, yo, add some drums to this. I mean, I think with respect to what we know of each other to be, is we know he's more rhythmic. You know what I mean? Even though I'm a drummer, like literally can hop on the set.
Got the bounce.
He got the bounce.
The bounce coming up. The bounce coming up.
So I'm more musical though. And we kind of know what's what. And not to say he's not musical. Like he got one of the craziest ears of all time.
Facts.
So now there was no, the only argument we had was, and Jimmy Douglas was there, was when it came to the Sonics, where I was coming off the tray. My joint wasn't slapping like the ASR. Like, it just wasn't. Like, my record sounded like, and I was tweaking the hell out of that.
It's fire, but they sounded thin.
Yeah, small and thin, right?
Yeah.
And he can play the wackest whatever on the ASR. It's gonna sound
Crazy.
like, crazy. So he was just on me one day, like, yo, you gonna have to get an MPC, right? And I hated an MPC. Man, I don't know. I know I hated. First of all, I couldn't even understand that. Like, I don't even. That's too bit for
Complex.
me. Yeah. So MPC, and I hated the MP. I hated the 2000. Like, it just wasn't my thing. So I got the 4000. And at that point, the drum, now I'm sampling. I'm going through like a lot of that stuff. I'm boosting my drums up. I'm there now.
Yeah.
Jimmy Douglas, we playing something. And Tim, you think you slick because I still notice you feel like my drums don't be hitting, but that's just your mental thing. Jimmy Douglas was like, Tim, them drums is hitting now. You can't
can't say shit now.
You can't say nothing now. Them joints is rocking. Like, you gotta stop. So that was it though. And at that point, now that I was kind of at the level sonically, because that was the last hurdle, was the sonic. And he was always adamant about, you know what to do with the sound. I got all the sounds. It's all of that. You got that. It's just the sonics and just the presentation of the track. Yeah. So that was it. After that, the joints that were hits, a few handful of them were actually my drum programming. So, or my drum sounds and stuff like that. And he did his thing on top or stacked them. Obviously, Jimmy Douglas did his thing on the mix, and Marcelo on the mix, and Demo on the mix at the end of the day. But that was the only debate in the studio was that. But other than that, man, we kind of fell place, man. It was really like easy and seamless. And I think, again, going back to the trust thing, when he felt like he can trust what I was coming up with creatively, I think that's when it allowed him to now he can focus on the top line. Yeah. He can focus on the melody. He can focus on the other important things, the crafting the record. Yep. Yeah, like now I got somebody who can come up with the tedious stuff. I can now focus on making it a smash. Right. So I think that's kind of what came into place, and that's just how it gelled. It was real easy.
That's dope. I'm gonna say a couple names. You tell me in short what it means to you. Missy Elliott.
Missy Elliott. Everything, man. I mean, I wouldn't be doing this if I ain't hear if I ain't hear that, I wouldn't be doing none of this. Like, Missy is everything, man.
Carrie Hilson.
Carrie Hilson is my Aaliyah.
I love that.
That's my Aaliyah.
Polo the Don.
Polo the Don, man. He's just the love and support to this day. Like, I don't think there's nobody showed me more love than Polo showed.
Man, his political campaign is incredible.
Yeah.
One thing we're going to really salute is that he going to campaign. He going to fight for something.
Yeah.
He going to be the loudest in the room. He going to be the loudest in the area.
Yeah.
I've seen him be on blocks and stuff like that, and really just be outside. Listen, most competitive person I've seen. I never was competitive with him. I'm in a different space than him, but I see him compete, and man, it's been times where I see him put 100,000 on a basketball game, but it will convince you that this is the hardest record to ever touch Earth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that name up because I knew you was gonna be like, man.
Nah,
competitor.
Carrie Hilson was his artist. Knock You Down, he didn't produce. He produced in the manner of helping to put it together. But he fought for that song. Like, that was him. He heard, I played it for him. He's like, that's a smash. Like, I'm going to get it done. So, he didn't have to produce a thing or do that normally.
Yeah,
like,
they don't.
You know what I mean? He didn't have to do that. Like, he could have did all types of things to make sure he got his name on it, make sure he did some production on it, made sure that, or just hated on it completely because he ain't do it.
Right.
So, you know, not just because of that record, but he's always shown just a massive amount of love. But yeah, as far as the campaign and the,
Yeah.
like, if he believe in it, he will find a way to make you believe in it. But at the end of the day, like, for
Word.
sure.
A couple more. DJ Khaled.
DJ Khaled, I think we both gave each other an opportunity with that We Taking Over record. And he believed in what I was doing at that time and just kind of, you know, hopped on it and one of the first to take a chance on me as a solo producer. You know what I mean? Like, I did a lot with Tim at that time, but We Taking Over I did on my own, and he kind of was one of the first to jump out there and like, yo, nah, I need you to do the record. And always getting off of that.
Another competitor, campaigner like no other.
Yeah.
That motherfucker's the president when it comes to
Since
campaign.
the first day one. Like, one of the first guys I met when I was trying to get on him, I remember Fat Joe, Cool and Dre. I remember I went to, I don't know, it was Khaled's house. It might have been Khaled's house. This is 2002. I was broke, trying to get on. Cool and Dre just did their deal with J Records. And Khaled just got a promotion at the,
Def Jam.
it wasn't even Def Jam, it was the radio station. He was still working at the station, 99
still
Jam.
DJing. Okay.
So he just got a
Jam.
promotion at this radio station. This was before anybody was
Okay.
Fat Joe. I forgot what he might have been coming off of, or just coming home or something like that. And playing records for Joe though. Joe not really loving what I'm doing, but Cool and Dre giving me the nod like, yo, that's
For you on some shit.
right. Just mine. I love him for that. Like, I love that he just, you know, it was something that Joe had said at that time. He was, and I never forget it. He was like, I just don't feel the love, right? This is what he told me. And I'm just like, maybe some truth to it, dude. You know what I mean? Because I was like, damn, I am kind of jaded, though. Like, I've been grinding, trying to figure this out. Ain't nobody giving me no shot. But Dre in that moment was just kind of holding me up like, yo, nah, I don't know what he talking about, but that's crazy. But shout out to Joe. He came back around.
That's dope.
I gave him something.
That's dope.
He probably still owe me a couple dollars. But
Last but not least, the incredible
Lago,
Marcella, if you do.
Marcella.
Go.
Man, ride or die. I mean,
Yeah.
she jumped out there when we first started popping, was willing to do whatever to, you know, make sure I was comfortable in the studio, set me up,
Dope.
mix the records. Like, it was me and her, you know what I mean? Like, just on the solo journey. So, you know, that's ride or die, that's Robin, for sure.
Dope. So we're gonna jump into the creation. I'm gonna let you tell them what we about to recreate from scratch, because I can't even believe we doing this.
I mean, I filtered through a few trying to figure out which would be the easiest. But I think we're going to do that Promiscuous girl, man.
Oh, shit.
We're going to do that
man.
Promiscuous girl.
Oh, shit.
We're going to get as close as we can get.
Oh, we gonna
I'm
get
missing a part of it, you know what I mean?
We gonna get there. The
Tim
genius
call
is
in
here.
and give me a beatbox or something. Something on loop, something real quick. But
We'll put it on the under audio.
yeah, we'll do. I'm gonna do the best I can to recreate Promiscuous.
No doubt, the creation right here. Before we jump into this, I see two horns back there.
There's two horns back there.
What's them two horns right there, man?
You know what? You mind if I grab?
Ah, man.
So we got actually.
When you got too many horns, you got to look and see which one it is.
Nah, these
I call these horns. They really phonograph record players, but
these are the only two.
call
But
them horns.
Love Stone, best dance recording. Justin Timberlake.
JT.
And this is
I know what that is.
Sexy Back. Yeah, Justin Timberlake.
Was that your first?
These are my first, and then a few nominations. But yeah,
So you got two, or
I got two. Now these two. We working on that producer of the year. That's the one.
Man, that's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one.
You know, it's a different game they're playing nowadays, but that's the one.
The actual thought of creating for Nelly at that time, if I may be downplaying this, but she was a superstar, right? But she was looking for some records to take her over and out the world of laying in the grass. You getting older,
Right.
Building a new vibe. You know what I'm saying? When you're thinking about this in a spectrum, what's your first go-to movement of the beat? Do you like, how do I do this? Do I think 80s? Do I think 90s to, I think, adding hip hop elements. When you're attacking this, what do you do first?
I mean, it was definitely tempo was the first thing. Was
Okay.
dancing. Like, what does that feel like? I mean, I'm trying to use hindsight, but trying to figure out what was going on at the time musically, I can't even really remember because we were so just locked into what we were doing. But I was just bringing all of my influences to the table, I guess. So when you really dialed into kind of the tempos I was playing with, it was really like I pulled a lot from some Janet and like Janet Control with the chords and just the vibrance and the brightness of those chords. You remember Chubb Rock?
Everything he made.
So,
Bounce.
you know what I mean? So it was just like,
Bounce.
all I was thinking in my head with a lot of those tempos was the block party that I remember in the back of the crib. And the block party was those records, like, you know, Chubb Rock, Dana Dane, and Slick, like the way those records sounded, Hit and Play records, the It Takes Two, you know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking of Salt and Pepper and all type of stuff.
Yep.
So tempo wise, that's what I was thinking about. My portrayal of it or how it came off, I guess that was more just unique to me. I really was just thinking of the tempo, using drums, because the drums that I use or started with, I like to kind of make my own beat breaks, I would say, right? I would literally play the kit, but I would just pitch it up and just play the rhythm myself and I would sample myself. So that's how I was doing everything in the 4000. So I would just kind of hit record. So you get that live, loose feeling. Then I just loop it. You know, that's how we would do everything. So that was the initial feeling. And then the second thought was just that hook line. I knew I just wanted a melody that I knew I could play anything around. And that kind of was the formula to a lot of the tracks.
It seemed like the formula that you'll have, like a top line, and then you add accents to different parts.
Yeah. So I knew that melody. And that was going back to church. That was how I viewed what the choir was singing. And I remember one time specifically just saying, y'all just sing it how it's supposed to sing. Don't worry about me. I'm playing all around the melody because I discovered, and that was my first discovery of, long as the melody stay the same, I can like play all kinds of chord progressions around the melody. And it's going to color the melody, even though it's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
A different chord progression would give a different interpretation of the melody.
Fire.
So that was the formula. I knew if I just keep one thing that's continuous, I can bring the kind of abstract flavor with the chord progressions and the things I do around the melody.
Okay.
That's what it was with that. So the first thought was tempo. The first was, okay, I got these drums that sound good to me. And I think a lot of these drums,
That's what you start with first?
that's what I started with first on this. I was using Plug Sound Pro, which now is, well, they have Falcon, which is, I can access Plug Sound through Jazz Mini Kit.
Do you pride yourself on finding plugins nobody else used? Like, I know a lot of people just go straight to Omnisphere and be like, yo, I'm doing this, or I'm going straight to Contact. At that point when we were using Contact back then, it was Intact. A lot of us was trying to figure out, like you talked about Logic before, we were in Battery because that's the only thing can make your drums hit hard in any DAW was Battery at the time.
Right.
So you pride yourself on certain plugins trying to be different, because I know that Falcon, a lot of people don't know the UVI stuff like that. You know what I mean?
I feel like it's the best kept secret. I've done the bulk of my hits, my international worldwide smash records with this.
Okay.
And it was only because it was all I had. So I went to, shout out to Brian Kidd and shout out to Tim, because Tim he didn't give me much, you know what I mean? He put me gave me the opportunity to work for it. So I took my own money. He said, I'm gonna take you to Brian Kidd. It's like him taking you to the plug.
Right.
You gotta get your own. So I'm gonna take you to the plug, but you gotta buy your own sound. So
Thanks.
I had like 1,500. I just gave Brian's like, I'll give you whatever. So he gave me this Vanguard.
Vanguard is a killer.
Right. What's the bass? It's a bass plugin. It's blue. I forgot, but I know I think I still got it. Got mad basses, funky basses, all type of basses. Like 2 other things. That was all I had. And those sounds were the sounds that I used to to create all of this stuff
crazy.
that I use. My Love came from Vanguard.
Yeah.
We Taking Over came from Vanguard. That, you know, whip, 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 that arpeggiator. And the majority of my drums and pads and basses and all the other stuff came from Plug Sound. Percussions and just little drums, I'll pitch up, pitch down, sample, make them, you know what I mean? Because it was like when I had the Triton and I just used only the Triton, but I manipulated it to sound like something that they didn't know where the sounds was coming from. So I like the idea of, and I mean, even though I have this big expanded studio, I'm still trying to get back to a space where this is all I got. All I got is this.
Right.
Even though it's got a million sounds.
Everything, bro, it just becomes a task.
It becomes a task. And that's what happens when you, it's too many sounds. You get like analysis paralysis. But if you got your handful of stuff and you can just, you have no choice but to tweak them because you don't have nothing else.
No lie.
So I was bending and twisting drums and sounds and basses and putting effects on things to make them just be different because that's all I had. So I only had a handful of stuff.
I just recently bought this. Rob Knox told me that you put him on to.
Yeah, I mean.
He was like, bro, this shit incredible. So I was like, all right, I'll buy it.
Nah, it's like you got to go down a rabbit hole. It's so many different cool things. So the drums and some of the sounds really, they sound unique, but they also sounded cheap.
Yep.
So I think that's what made them distinct because they sounded a little bit thin, they just cut through and stuck out.
Right.
That's what it was with these drums.
Don't sound cheap to me.
Nah, it sounded a little weird. I believe that's the one.
So when you were using Falcon, or what it was then, which program you was using it through?
Through Cubase.
Cubase, okay.
Yeah, I was using Cubase.
I love Cubase.
Yeah, I was just using Cubase though to trigger the sound. So I wasn't doing much programming in it.
Yeah.
And I had to going straight to the 4,000. So I would just hit record and we could do it live to the metronome or whatever.
Gotcha.
And then trigger it.
Gotcha.
We're not gonna go through that whole process.
It's just controlling the loop.
Yeah, we gonna just loop and just try to recreate it the best way we can.
Yeah. Quantize or non-quantize? What's the favorite?
So nowadays, I actually quantize it, but I move it.
As you shift it, doing
yeah. So I shift it myself, but it depends on what kick and snare I would want tight.
Yep.
And then everything else I just have loose.
Yeah. Same.
Sometimes I had a kick and snare loose, but have a hat tight. You know what I mean? It's like something to be locked, or at least locked in time, but nudged.
Right.
You know what I mean? See, I might have to quantize this one. Because I know the other sound, I'm gonna go to those and I'm gonna come double back to the drum.
Yep. That sound like it.
I will always take the
effects off.
All effects dry. Well, not all the time, but I know the release of it, I would like cut it down so I can better control.
you got all these running MIDI at one time, so you could just jump around and do shit.
Yeah, these are, yeah, everything.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah, they are
Yo.
just connected. But I also got it so I can use the sound. So if there's a bass in here or pads or something here,
Yep.
rolls, I can just run it in here and use it.
What kind of goddamn hookup is this?
It's real simple, yeah. I mean, I mean, I had more keyboards and stuff, but again, trying to scale it down. Now you can just copy the MIDI and just change the sound. And I like to replay it anyway because sometimes I come up with different voices.
Yeah.
Always a different performance per sound. So that's what, like, copying the MIDI is just like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
So when you're messing with the LFO, what is that doing?
So I'm taking the amount that it kind of sustain.
Yeah.
So one of the little tricks we always would do is have it cut off so it sounds like it's being sampled as well.
Fire.
So it's not being, carried over.
Fire.
So it just stop, you know what I mean?
So the release is going down. I see what you mean about them bright sounds, like the old, like Janet Jackson type of feels. Like I see what you're doing.
That was they just attractive to me.
Yeah.
They cut through, but I'm playing, the chords and things that I would play.
Right.
Also, it made it sound different because I'm playing either soulful stuff or this is very pop.
Right.
But this is where Tim come in and like knew what to do. It's like,
Right.
you know what I mean? With my chord progression might have been a little bit more
jazzy.
But with these sounds, it's perfect.
Right.
Feels like almost a new take. You remember how them 80s sounds sounded when we first heard them? That's kind of how this was for me. It was like, it ain't sound too much. I think they get pretty unique with some of the sound. We haven't even gone deep, but some of these sounds don't sound like anything.
Right.
They still sound very thin. And if you use them, I just was using them in a fresher way, I think, at the time.
Muscle memory. Why'd you pan the hi-hats to the left?
Yeah, why?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to create the feeling that I didn't want the hat and the other the calves to be on top of each other.
Yeah.
So I want to start opening it up because it was so many drums in the record.
Yeah.
That's how it originally was. It was just like stuff
Gotcha.
spread, you know.
You got it.
I got
He did it.
Unless I pull out some stems, I don't know what else to do.
Nah, you
It's a couple little things here and there.
Yeah, a couple
Other
choirs, a
little-
couple things like that.
Little sound. I ain't sure what it is. Caught in the vibe. You know, a couple other sounds just to stack. We used to just stack. It'll be a lot of drums.
Yeah.
I mean, I can go crazy just stacking drums, but I think the essence and the main part,
Yeah.
like the lead sound and the pads, when it gets to that hook,
Yeah.
like it feels like, you know, the record. But
Nah, it's the record.
yeah.
It's the record.
Yeah.
From memory, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Without any stems or nothing like that. Yeah. That's dope. Before we get out of here, Barefoot, what made you go with those over like Folk House, PMCs or something like that?
Man, and I tried a lot of different joints too. And I was using Adams for a while and everything, but they got 4 different settings. I mean, hi-fi and flat is kind of, you know, hi-fi give you a little bit more to play with, a little more candy, but flat is like, I feel like I'm hearing what I'm supposed to hear.
Facts.
Then the old school is similar to an NS10. I'm not the biggest fan of NS10.
Me neither. Yeah.
And I've been forever trying to find something else other than those.
Yeah.
But the only reason why I'm not the biggest fan, because, you know, you can't push them. So the old school setting gave me the ability to have an NS10 that I can crank.
Right.
So I'm majority of the time, that's what I'm on, like old school and kind of filling out the mix as I'm creating it.
Yeah.
And Cube is just like overtones.
Mm-hmm.
So again, something else, another. And so I get 4 different speakers in one.
Mm-hmm.
I rarely have to go to the mains.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the mains if I'm just in here vibing, having fun, and want to be loud. But it paints the best sonic picture for me.
How about a sub? Do you have to pair it with a sub or you leave it without?
Because it's already built in.
Right.
In this version.
Right.
The ones I have in the smaller room, they have sub. The subs you see here go to the Atmos system.
Gotcha. Expensive system right here.
It's pretty expensive.
You got a Barefoot Atmos system, bro.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive.
What is going on?
But it sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I've been creating in it a little bit too.
Word?
Yes. Once I understood how they sounded, I just got them everywhere. I got them in my place in LA. I got them over here in every room here. Whole Atmos system here. So I'm barefoot all day.
He said he barefoot all day. I'm a folk out person, but I'm looking to try these out barefoot. Send me some speakers, because I want to try it out.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Send me some
definitely
speakers.
definitely send him some speakers.
Yeah, we on folk out mission. Before we jump again, tell them about Realm.
Realm is a community that is accompanied with an app as well. I've been working on for some time that, you know, it brings us all together. It brings us being the creative world and not excluding the executives and the publishers and the managers and all these other different people who can get just an inside track on us as creators. But it's built with us in mind, us being engineers, producers, beat makers. I don't care if you play a kazoo. I don't care if your cousins sing backgrounds. You play a trumpet, whatever type of musician you could be, Realm is for you. Realm is a place where I'm looking for you, where I think he's looking for you, where we can get in here and continue to collaborate. You will be able to market your own businesses, market yourself through the marketplace. There's a gamified experience with earning XP just from being on the app and just kind of battling. This is battlegrounds. We also do in real life experiences as well. So Realm is like the all-in-one stop shop for us, for all the creative people. You know,
It's where forces collide, because tomorrow does the same thing. It's a marketplace, but we got everything involved. So maybe we could collide on it.
We definitely will.
You know what I
We
mean?
definitely will. Realm and Tomorrow collab coming really soon.
Yes, sir.
Really soon.
Where can they find you on IG and Twitter if you anywhere like
On IG, it's The Only Danger. On Twitter, same thing, The Only Danger. Or is it Only One Danger?
that?
I can't remember.
They gonna figure it out.
They'll figure it out.
But one thing is not it's Danger Hands.
Yeah, no, it's not Danger.
What happened to Danger Hands?
I mean, it was a moment in time. You know, we all evolved.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? And I think that was like just fun fact. It was so enamored by Tim and wanted to just have the syllables. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? So it was that's where it came from. But there's meaning behind it. You know, the hands was just the versatility. I felt like it was all coming through the hands and just what these hands were capable of doing.
Gotcha.
Danja for short. Danja is easy to remember.
Word.
Danja for those who don't know me. Friends and family call me Nate. I go by Nate, and I answer to that as well. So, whatever's easier, you can find me.
That's what's up. This is BackTrak, #1 co-signer, Danja, Cannon, Promiscuous, the remix. Holla at y'all.